Officer smashed a baton across a black kid's face, didn't know his uncle was the Homeland Security Director. The crowd had been growing restless for minutes. Sirens blared somewhere down the street, their wails mingling with the harsh shouts of police officers trying to control the gathering. The summer heat pressed down like a weight, sweat rolling down faces, but no one was willing to back down. Not tonight. Jalen Carter was standing near the edge of the crowd, hands in his pockets, trying to keep his breathing steady. He was just a kid, 17, slender, and full of a quiet kind of strength. But tonight, he had become a symbol without meaning to. Earlier, a scuffle had broken out between officers and a few teenagers nearby. Now, tensions were running high, and the police were cracking down hard. Jalen had done nothing wrong. He was only there to meet a friend. But as he turned to walk away, a cold, rough hand grabbed his arm. "Hey, where you think you're going, boy?" barked Officer Simmons, a hulking man with a sneer carved into his face. Jalen's eyes widened, but he stayed calm. "I'm just leaving, sir." Simmons didn't listen. Instead, he yanked Jalen forward. "You think you can just walk away from me? Move it!" Jalen's heart pounded as the crowd's murmurs rose to angry shouts. He knew that if he resisted, things could go badly fast. But before he could react, Simmons pulled out his baton. "Get on the ground!" Simmons barked. Jalen hesitated. "I didn't do anything wrong." That was the moment everything exploded. Simmons swung the baton with brutal force, smashing it hard across Jalen's face. The sound cracked like a whip. Jalen's head snapped to the side, blood bursting from his nose, hot and bitter in his mouth. Pain exploded behind his eyes. He crumpled to the sidewalk, hands clutching his bleeding face. The crowd gasped, some shouted, others pulled out their phones. But no one moved to stop the officer. The brutality was clear, the injustice undeniable. Simmons stood over Jalen, chest heaving, eyes wild with rage. "Don't make me come back." Jalen lay there, vision blurred, struggling to breathe through the shock and pain. But deep inside, anger flared, cold and steady. This wasn't just about him. This was about every kid who had ever been pushed down and silenced. Tonight, something inside him changed. Hours later, Jalen was in the hospital, bandaged and bruised but alive. His mother sat beside him, tears streaming, voice trembling with worry and rage. "We're going to fight this, Jalen. This isn't right." Jalen nodded, swallowing hard. "I want them to pay for this." But as the news spread, the story took a turn nobody expected. The next morning, a sharp knock came at their door. Standing there was a tall man in a crisp suit, his face calm but serious. "Mr. Carter, I'm Director Marcus Reynolds, Department of Homeland Security," he said, flashing an ID badge. "I'm Jalen's uncle." Jalen's eyes widened in disbelief. This was the uncle he had never met, the powerful man whose name was spoken quietly in government halls, whose decisions shaped national security. Reynolds stepped inside, closing the door behind him. "I heard about what happened. I want you to know we're going to make sure justice is done." But Jalen wasn't sure if it would be that simple. His uncle's world was one of secrets and power, but the streets where Jalen lived were ruled by fear and corruption. Could the government really protect him? Or would this just be another story swept under the rug? Days passed. The city buzzed with outrage as footage of Simmons' attack went viral, recorded by a bystander's shaky phone camera. The video showed the swing, the brutal hit, the crowd's shocked faces. But the police department was silent, refusing to comment. Then came the backlash. Simmons was placed on leave, but a whisper spread through the streets. He had friends high up, officers who protected their own, officers who knew how to bury the truth. Jalen's uncle Marcus Reynolds moved fast behind the scenes. Calls were made, meetings held in dark rooms, evidence collected, but even he hit roadblocks. "Marcus, this isn't just about one officer," his deputy warned. "There's corruption running deep, officers covering for each other, illegal surveillance, abuses that go all the way up." Reynolds clenched his jaw. "Then we root it out. No one is above the law." The fight escalated. Jalen's school became a battleground. Threats whispered in hallways. Friends warned him to keep quiet, but Jalen stood firm. "I'm not afraid," he told his mother. If they think they can scare me, they're wrong. Meanwhile, Reynolds coordinated a federal investigation, working with honest agents and civil rights advocates. They uncovered layers of misconduct, falsified reports, excessive force complaints ignored, evidence hidden. The city trembled as arrests began. Officers like Simmons, their commanders, even a few elected officials caught taking bribes to keep the corruption alive. The climax came on a humid Friday afternoon. In a packed courtroom, Jalen sat at the front, flanked by his mother and his uncle. Simmons was on trial, facing charges of assault, civil rights violations, and obstruction of justice. The prosecutor laid out the case with precision, playing the viral video over and over. Witnesses testified about the culture of fear in the department. The defense tried to discredit Jalen, painting him as a troublemaker, but the evidence was overwhelming. Simmons, once confident and sneering, now sat silent, sweating under the harsh light. Jalen's heart pounded as the jury filed back in. Guilty on all counts. The courtroom erupted. Relief, triumph, and the bitter taste of justice finally served. But the story didn't end there. After the trial, Marcus Reynolds stood outside the courthouse surrounded by reporters. Cameras flashed as he spoke with authority. This conviction sends a message. No one, regardless of badge or rank, is above the law. We will continue to root out corruption wherever it exists. He looked to Jalen, pride and resolve shining in his eyes. Jalen felt something shift inside, hope, a fire to keep fighting. He wasn't just a victim anymore. He was a symbol of change. As the crowd dispersed, Jalen caught sight of Simmons being led away in handcuffs, his head bowed. The same man who had tried to silence him was now powerless. The bitter wounds on Jalen's face would heal, but the scars left by this night marked a new beginning. Justice had won for now. Disclaimer: this story is a fictional dramatization created for entertainment purposes only.